So the last 2 to 3 years in our region has had basically a lot of rainfall, which has meant really, really wet river conditions, which means high flows, and a lot of the time we've had flooding, which has been actually really fantastic for fish species. So it's these big flows in the wetter years, not the average years, that really help with that boom in fish populations, and native fish particularly, and those migratory species that move up and downstream. So the West Gippsland region, they're called coastally connected rivers. So we have rivers that flow from upstream in the mountains right through to the salty or estuary areas of Lake Wellington or coastal regions. And that's really important in terms of the fish species that we have here. So migratory native species are a big component of the Thomson, Macalister and the Latrobe. So part of our management of environmental water and some of the river aspects target those species because they're such a large component of these river systems. So these species are quite important because different parts of their life cycle, they will actually be downstream in the saltier or estuarine regions, or upstream in the fresh and mountainous nice habitat regions. So it's really important that throughout their life cycle there's this connectivity which allows them to move up and downstream. So with regulation of rivers, so that's having dams and weirs and allowing rivers to sort of be used by humans, we've altered them quite a bit. So there's alterations to flow. So in high flow times that would have naturally been high, we're now harvesting that water in dams and then using that water in summertime more so that the rivers had this seasonal reversal, which means that higher flows are sometimes happening in the summer, hotter, drier periods, and then lower flows are actually happening in the autumn, winter, when it would have been a lot higher flow. And so the native fish in these river systems have actually evolved to seasonal cues. So when the water temperature is a certain temperature and when the flow's at a certain volume, that's when they go, oh, it's time to move downstream, or oh, it's time to move back upstream into the fresh water. So what we're trying to do in terms of environmental water, that's one lever we can pull to try and help native species, is mimic some of those naturally occurring cues by providing freshers or base flows that allow the fish species to have that cue, go, oh, time to move downstream or time to come back upstream. And they can move all the way down and come back all the way up. So it's helping with spawning and also recruitment, which is really important for the diversity and abundance of species. Another thing we're doing is actually trying to address some of the barriers to fish migration. So here at Kowar Weir, there's a knife edge structure with a fishway actually attached to it now, which allows the fish to actually keep moving upstream into those headwater or the upper mountainous areas of the river. And that's really important for different parts of their life cycle. So if they are able to move unimpeded upstream and downstream, they can actually finish those different parts of their breeding and life cycles. So in the Thomson specifically, we deliver environmental water in autumn and spring. They're kind of our key migration windows for native fish species, in particular the listed Australian grayling. We also have Australian bass, the short and long-finned eel, and chupong. And their cues are all based around the flow in the river and the temperature. So the timing of those, we like to try and time it in that window that really benefits them, whether it's for going downstream and spawning in the estuary or coming back upstream and encouraging recruits into the system to really bolster the actual native fish population in the Thomson. And so that's when we might see some changes in the river. It's trying to hit those when the flow would have naturally been higher, so those colder months. So the ultimate goal, I suppose, of the works that a CMA does, as well as the management of environmental water, is to build a fish population that can be resilient to change, so whether that's climate or events like fire or drought or flood, but also a fish population that can hold its own, so it can continue breeding, can actually be a significant part of the fish population in the river, so it's not all just those exotic non-native species. So that's tied into a lot of things, so whether it's improving the trees, the in-stream habitat, the access for fish, and also the up and downstream connectivity as well. So that's success is a fish population that's healthy, that's breeding, and is also bringing in recruits across all of the river systems.